Hello, Nikita Mikhailov here. So my background is I'm a psychometrician and I love occupational psychology and I love personality. So what can I reflect about my career in this wonderful field? Well, in the last year, what particularly stood out for me is the importance of mentorship. I was very lucky in my career to have fantastic mentors, people who shown me the way. But to be honest, it's in the eyes of my mentors that I first saw the possibility I could be good at my job. And I was wondering how to do a tribute to that. So me and a couple of colleagues got together and we set up psychologyatwork.blog, and we set up a mentoring program for a year. Had no idea what we were doing when we started, and we expected to maybe get 20 people, but we got hundreds of expression of interests, and now we're up to our, I think, 103rd pairing of mentor and mentee, as well as organizing events and etc. But one of the key things that this has shown me is the amount of goodwill we have in our profession to helping young talent, also to making our profession more diverse and inclusive. And it's just, it really made me appreciate our profession even more, because we do care about best practice, but we also care about each other. And this has been made very clear to me through this program, and especially the last year. And what are my wishes for the next years? Well, for us to work closer together, not only as occupational psychologists, but also working closer with clinical psychologists. Because, my God, last 9 months has definitely shown the value of clinical and supportive mental health. Also educational psychologists, also with HR, L&D, coaches, because we can learn from each other so much. And occupational psychology has so much to give, so much goodness of psychology that we can share with the world and fellow professionals. And I just wish we do it more, because if we look even at the question of workspace, there is no shared office right now. And who knows how the new office will look like. So what's occupational psychology when there's no set workplace? When there's more integration that we experienced, well, hopefully integration of last 9 months, of when, you need to switch roles between being a parent, a colleague, a spouse, a friend, all within quick succession. And some people don't even have home offices. You need to share space with few other people. That has its own challenges. So I think in better understand the challenges individuals go through and better give them the tools to help them, we will need to work most cross-disciplinaries than ever before. But rather than trepidation, I'm very excited by this, because we all share the common appreciation of the importance of the individual and helping that individual to develop and grow and make the best of their circumstances and change them for the better. So to me, I'm really looking forward to this DOP. It's virtual, so I'll save on the commute, which is also helps. And I look forward to seeing you all on whatever platform we shall be using. All the best, good people. Stay healthy and have a wonderful Christmas. All the best. Bye.
Hi there, my name's Hayley Lewis and I'm a chartered psychologist and registered occupational psychologist. So I've been asked to share with you a little bit about my own career journey. So I've been in the field of organisational and occupational psychology for 21 years now. I know I don't look that old, but yeah, so 21 years. And I was having to think about this video, and I've split my career into 3 acts, if you like. So the first act is when I started off my career. So I started off working in the psychology team at the BBC, which I feel really privileged to have done. And the first kind of part of my career was a real opportunity to go deep on a couple of aspects of what we do as psychologists. So I spent the first 5 years in my career, it felt like it was day in, day out, but doing lots of assessment centres, assessment for selection and assessment for development. And I loved that. I loved the kind of the knowledge and skills you get from things like assessment centres. I think it teaches you about the importance of evidence, the importance of suspending your own bias and judgment. It just taught me a whole variety of skills. And then I was lucky enough to work on what was then held up as the biggest culture change programme in the world at that point. And so started to kind of veer more into the field of organisational development and change, and fell completely and utterly in love with that. I think a key lesson from the first part of my career was about seizing opportunities, even if they were a bit scary. So an opportunity came up to go on secondment in the role of people development manager in another part of the BBC. And whilst that was a little bit scary and I had that moment of who me, I kind of went for it anyway, and again learnt loads and started to learn more about what it means to run a service, what it means to understand the business side of a service rather than just the psychological aspects of running a service. And then that all kind of led me to the second act. So the second act is when I moved into local government, and that's when I felt like I'd come home. So I moved into local government, much to the disbelief of my family, who couldn't understand it. That I went into local government to set up an organisational development team, and just fell completely and utterly in love with the sector. And I think that's when I began to understand a bit more about the things that matter to me and my own kind of deep-rooted values and principles. And I think that's a really important thing for us in our respective career journeys. During my time, I only planned to go into local government for 2 years, and I ended up spending 11 years in the sector, and ended up taking on a variety of really different roles. So I kept being given more and more bigger opportunities. And whilst that was great, and certainly that's really helped me with where I am now, I felt like I was kind of moving further and further away from my first love of organisational psychology. But I ended up in roles around developing ICT, so technology strategies. I went into customer services, and then I ended up in a role as head of communications and marketing and digital transformation. I know. And I was still applying my psychology and my psychology training, but in a very real world context. So as an operational manager and then latterly as a strategic leader, my training early on in my career really played out in motivating my own teams, in helping to kind of build high performing teams, and in helping to kind of change the culture of the wider organisation. So I kind of went from being one side of the table, if you like, as a psychologist applying theory, to the other side in terms of being a manager who happened to be a psychologist and was using psychology in her day-to-day life. And all of this, so by this point, all of this, I'd been making sure to build up really good, meaningful, real relationships with people that I've been fortunate enough to meet along the way during my career, and made sure to kind of keep in contact with people, and just nurture those relationships. And that's really come into its own in the third act of my career. So I left local government 4.5 years ago now to set up my own business, and I'd always wanted to kind of fly under my own steam, if you like. So in my 40s, I set up my own business, Hayley Psychology, and which is a consultancy. And the bulk of the work that I do is around leadership and management development. I do the occasional work around culture change because I love that, but those are quite big projects. And actually, I enjoy working one-to-one through coaching or small groups, such as kind of on management development workshops. And I feel really fortunate because I get a lot of work, but I think that's partly because I took the time, and I continue to take the time to build real a lot of repeat clients, people who will come back for subsequent pieces of work, or word of mouth, so I'll be kind of recommended. And I think one of the the kind of the upsides of my journey is I think a lot of my customers like the uniqueness that I'm a qualified psychologist, but I've kind of lived and breathed. I've stepped in their shoes, if you like. I know how it feels as a frontline manager to have to sit down with the unions, for example, and tell them that you've got to restructure yet again, or you know, how to remotivate a member of staff who's lost their way, lost their mojo, if you like. And so I think if you wanted some advice from me, I think seize any opportunity that comes your way, particularly early on in your career, and don't be afraid to step away, even just for a short time, from being in a pure psychologist role. I think we need to remember that we're all about the world of work, and we're all about kind of helping organisations be the best places that they can be, so that people can be their best selves and do their best work. And I think one of the ways we can do that is by understanding what it means to run organisations like that. And so if you get an opportunity to step away, as I say, if only for a short space of time, I think it could really help your career in the long run. So I hope that's been helpful. I'm more than happy for people to reach out. I get a lot of direct messages on LinkedIn asking for advice, particularly for those starting out in the field of occupational psychology. So yeah, never be afraid to kind of reach out to me or drop me a line, and I'll do my best to kind of answer your questions and help. And I hope you enjoy the conference. They're always brilliant every year. Okay, take care. Bye.